America's backbone was built on blue-collar business grit, grind, and muscle. This is where you stop working for the business, and the business starts working for you.
Secrets of a high-performing sales team in blue-collar businesses. Kevin, this is going to be a good one.
Yeah. Chris and I were just talking about every member of your team is a salesperson. We all know people who are making phone calls and out closing deals are salespeople, but really everybody on your team, from the guys driving your vehicles, the techs showing up at jobs, the CSR managers, people handling calls coming in, everybody's a salesperson. They have to represent your company like that. And you really have to get them to buy into that.
Yeah.
Chris, how do you get people doing that in your company?
Dude, so, this has been a big struggle for me as I've been growing from my startup company, learning all of those lessons that you learn from the startup up until the point to where I had management in place and I was really communicating with my management more than I was with my field technicians. So finally, what I had to do is I just pulled back and I said, what motivated me when I first started my company? Why did I get out there and sweat myself to where I was drenched? There wasn't a dry stitch of clothes on my body at the end of the day. I was exhausted. All I wanted to do was collapse on the couch when I got home. What pushed me to exhaust every effort I had each and every day? And it was because I knew the faster I worked, the more money I made. And so I really pulled back and started to analyze all of my hourly paid and salary paid structure that I had in my company. And I decided to go incentive-based pay. And when I went incentive-based pay, it put the same desire that I had into my team members, because now they knew the more quality that they put out where they didn't have to do redos, the more money they made. The faster they went, the more money they made. See, when we put people in hourly-based pay or a salary-based pay, you're going to be hard-pressed to find someone that's so internally motivated that they're going to put their very best effort every single day. But when you give them, we come to work for pay, right? So when you give them the incentive of, hey, you're actually making more per hour when you work faster and you work more efficiently, then I started seeing a dramatic change in my team members. So what I did is I went through and I said, okay, this is how much low salary base I can give you. And I got very aggressive on the incentive side, and I tied it to my revenue coming in and my revenue collected. So incentive-based pay is going to be your first step to get a very aggressive sales motivated type team. And it doesn't have to stay in the sales department. This is going to go all the way across. I challenge you to find every position in your organization a way to give them incentive-based pay. You will see a massive change. What else do you think, Kevin?
I think that's absolutely correct. It's a great way to do it. So one way I did it, and I see that you're doing, is you look at 100%, and you break down every position in your company. And Chris used the number 20%. I think I used it 30 back then. I got really aggressive. 30% profit. I only got 70 cents on the dollar left.
Yep.
How am I going to spread that out? And what should each position get? So I would break it down because, I used to have 4-man crews. I still do on some, and I would say, okay, the number 1 guy is going to be this percentage. The number 2 is this, number 3 and number 4. And I'll work in, basically they have to hit this. If they hit this number of production every day, that number works. Right. And if they go over that, this is how now I'm going to make more money. So there's more room for them to make money. Absolutely. And you can articulate to people, but it's down to, you got to break down everything, what it costs you to do the clerical work and everything. And then you can figure out ways to incentivize people, because we all know this as entrepreneurs, the day goes so fast, right? I used to cut lawns for 12 hours. I swear it seemed like 3 hours. Next thing I know, it's like getting dark because I'm racing the clock. I'm not racing the time. But when I was in school and I was in high school, I literally used to watch the second hand go around and be like, wow, brother, it's got to go around 48 more times before I can get the hell out of here.
Yep.
And I would be so bored. But if they said to me, Kevin, just do these math problems. If you're done in 15 minutes, you can get out of here. I would have did it. But there was no one, nobody was telling me that I had to stay there till 2:21 or whenever they let out. So this is a way to do it. I always tell guys that. I say, hey, if you guys finish at 3:30, you're done. I'm going to give you a full day. Okay.
Yep.
You know what they finish? They finish at 3:24.
Yep.
They don't finish at 5 anymore. You don't tell them that, they're going to make sure they milk that clock.
And dude, here's what I love about it. Now I have a better job opportunity to market when I'm recruiting. So it's no longer 15, 18, $20 an hour. Now it's our average team player makes this much per week. Your pay is directly tied to your performance. You control how much you get paid. Like you can put a scale instead of a hard number. Like when we go
Yeah.
in to do cleanings, we might say, okay, we're 50 cents a square foot to 75 cents a square foot, depending on how dirty it is. All right. Well, you can kind of have that same concept when you start your recruiting ads, because now you know about average what your team is making, what each team member is making based off of their performance. And here's what I've also realized is you're going to attract a more aggressive team member that is highly motivated and trying to grow your company in the process of growing their income. Because when everybody's in alignment, we start a business to make money. We go to work to make money. The problem is the old structure of here's what I'm going to pay you per hour to do this task, or here's what I'm going to pay you salary to perform this expectation is broken because it takes them out of alignment with the company's mission, which is to provide a service at a high quality so that we can bring in profits. Now you've got them back in alignment with the profiting, because now they know the more you grow, the more they're going to grow. The faster they produce for the company, the faster they're going to produce for their family, their lifestyle, their bank account. I mean, it really changes the whole game when you put incentive-based pay. And a lot of people might be like, well, I mean, that's why I mentioned the whole marketing thing. If you sit there and you can say, this is what our average weekly pay is, but you can make up to, and get aggressive with that up to. You might have a really aggressive, motivated team player out there looking for the opportunity where they don't feel like they have that ceiling in their income. They need someone that says, I will pay you based off performance, not for just showing up. You're going to attract those heavy hitters when you can market like that in the recruiting world. And most importantly, what I found, Kevin, is, man, my management is so happy because they do not have to micromanage like they used to.
Yeah.
Man, tell me how many times you have walked in and you saw your gutter guys just hanging loose, or they were stopping at the store on the way and spent 15 minutes in the bathroom or 30 minutes in the bathroom Facebooking. I mean, it cuts all of that crap out.
It cuts it all out. And, I give time for lunch. But let's face it, nobody needs an hour, especially if you're on site and somebody ordered pizza. You're just going to be sitting there killing time, but you'll do it if you're making $20 an hour. But if you knew, well, I'm kind of losing money by sitting here because I could just start knocking out more stuff and get this incentive base, this commission, whatever you want to call it, you're going to make more money. They always get back to business. And the key to it is, we were talking about, if you have a guy who's, I'm just going to use $20 an hour, and he's managing a guy who makes $18 an hour, and the $20 guy is motivated, the $18 guy does next to nothing. My brother knows all about this at Home Depot. It annoys him, but it doesn't really matter to him because there's nothing he can really do. But
Right.
if the $20 an hour guy, that lower lazy guy was messing up his money for his family and him, oh, he's going to have a problem. First of all, he's going to police him. He's going to be on his back. He's going to come to management about it. Then you have to do something. But you don't have to manage it. They'll manage themselves. And in my situation, what I started doing is letting those people bring in their own recruits. It totally solved my recruitment problem.
So you had a
Because
team
now
out there.
yeah, it's like playing sports. If you're going to go play basketball, you want to play with the guys who randomly show up at the park, or you
Right.
want to bring your buddies from high school who are used to killing people. Yeah, I know who I want on my team. So that's a major incentive. And then they have more fun. They're all on the same path. That's the best way to not micromanage people. Otherwise, you have all these personalities. Some people are lazy. And what happens if you're the guy who's making the higher pay and everyone's being lazy? At some point, most people are going to do less. That's
You're right. You're
most
right.
people.
They're going to pull back because they're going to get tired of carrying
Yeah.
the weight. So I like that you brought up the whole team analogy, because that's exactly what I found. And the way we're structured in our business is we run teams of 3, and they all 3 get paid the same percentage. So I just allocated 20% over to the team. I got 5% to one team member, 5% to the other, and 5% to the other. So I'm at 15%. The other 5% that make 20 towards my field staff that actually perform the services on the job. That extra 5% was there to eat up the payroll tax, because these are W-2 employees and not 1099. So I know 20%, that's my hard cost on every job. So my gross profit on every job should be 80%, as long as I don't have to do a rental or something like that to get the job complete. Then at this point, I'm only knocking off overhead. So my guys know that they're out there busting their tail. And if one of their team members calls in sick, then they're out there making money for that other team member, because I pay them as a team on it. Blue team, green team, like we've got them in colors, and they're collecting the 15% of this particular job that they're attached to. So not only did it take the micromanaging from the manager off, but it also put me in a situation to where now my team members are kicking each other off the team if one's not performing correctly. Just like you would see in sports game, you would see someone come in, and if they're not performing when they get to the locker room, they're getting told about it. They're like, hey, man, you're not blocking. You're causing us not to make goals, and you're affecting all of us having a ring at the end of the season. So it's really cool when you start to see the structure take place off of this incentive-based pay, and how the organization as itself and the culture begins to strengthen and is more performance-driven. Not only performance-driven, they're also quality-driven, because they understand the effects that not having high quality is going to do to their pay when they have to go out and repeat a service. So super impressed, and we want to really motivate you individuals that have these businesses to start an incentive-based pay situation in your organization, so that you can begin, as we go over a recap, to see alignment in the compensation with the company's performance. So the company wins, the staff wins. If the company fails, the staff begins to fail, which you're not going to have that last very long. The second recap is going to be identifying the value for each position. So take that 100% of the revenue and start chopping it up. Take your profit off first, and what's left, how can you chop it up and divide it into each individual's allocation. Third recap, Kevin, is going to be removing the micromanagement. Your management staff is going to appreciate the incentive-based pay. Next episode, next week, we will be talking about why blue-collar business owners need a virtual assistant. This is one of Kevin's favorite subjects, and I can't wait to hear him talk about it. Until next time, you guys check out the Blue Collar Millionaire Facebook group. It's free content. We're posting weekly, and we have a live interview with spectacular entrepreneurs that are killing it every day.
This is the podcastfactory.com.